simply, at a high level, is it's going into Quest, it's going into workflow, it's going into to those databases, and that's what's creating this page right here. It's people can filter based off. Oops, I've had this up since this morning. But so what happens is that all is extracted, done through SQL Server. And one of the struggles that Claims Domain has had is when this was built, there was Satish Balampali as well as Laguna Abalash. They were experts in SQL Server and doing these different things, and they don't have a whole lot of resources like that over here in the Claims Domain. So this page is created by a technology called Power BI. This is done on a desktop, and it has all the connections within the desktop page, and then it's uploaded to the server. So for the two inventories, that is Quest and Workflow. For this page, that's the Workflow inventory report. It usually runs somewhere around. It started probably around 3 o'clock in the morning, and it pulls from VO ad hoc to get everything together in some tables and databases. Then in Oracle, where it states the data, and then it will go out to SQL Server, where it's going to be able to do things like let people in and be able to see the data based on security. And then there's other aggregations that are done as well. And I'll get in deeper into that maybe in the second one, but just go over an overview for now. The inquiry analysis, we just had, it used to be ICS and Siebel, but now as of last year, EWOC records are coming in here as well.
Yeah, I noticed that. What's the source for those? Does this come from EDW too, or?
No, not EDW. It comes from BLU, PRD. So basically, it's no. It's coming from the IWell data platform.
GDP. Okay.
Yeah, it's coming from GDP. The schema is GDP 5P1. So you know that EDW is looking to be phased out, right? It's looking to be retired. And so this is where the GuideWell data platform is where EWOC records are built up. So are you guys familiar with EWOC?
Yeah, I mean, we're familiar with it. Most people on the phone are, just because of the talks about migrating Quest functionality to EWOC. And we know that Siebel was retired and all that inventory was pushed to EWOC. And then, we know that this year, I think they're looking at ICS that potentially move for blue card hosts, those kinds of inventory items to EWOC.
Yeah.
And then what we're hearing is for 2025, we would be doing discovery of what's in Quest and what's in Claims Workflow to go to EWOC.
Yeah. Oh man, if you guys go through that, definitely tap me on the shoulder if I can't help to work on it. But in working with EWOC, we discovered all kinds of problems, and you definitely want to. I don't know if you guys are piloting that or you're just helping the EWOC team to bring that inventory over or whatever, but there's a ton of different stuff. In fact, early on when we were starting our EWOC, helping out to, when we were doing the EWOC, bringing this into CIRT, we found some discoveries that were step one all the way up to legal. Right, Amy got involved, and it was a big mess because FEP isn't supposed to be on EWOC, but it was still showing and all kind of stuff, and it messed up both systems and all kind of different things. But anyway,
just real quick. It seems like they're putting the brakes on EWOC a bit. I mean, not only have I not seen people clamoring to put additional things in EWOC, I know that there's also, like, from a enterprise letter generation, right, where they bought Inspire, right, it was going to replace client letter, but now I'm hearing that Inspire is not going forward. I don't know what problems they found with that, but it seems like all that, EWOC, Inspire, is all slowed down a lot, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Absolutely. So I can tell you one thing, that when I got the emails and everything like that, got in there, that became a legal issue because Ewok FEP never signed off, and they said Ewok wasn't secure enough for the FEP stuff to be on there, and they ignored. I guess the Ewok team ignored them and put it on there anyway, and then it didn't get cataloged, so it goes from Ewok the system into the Carol Berry's team, which hosts it for the Guywell data platform, right? So you got your source, then you got your hosting platform for enterprise, like what we're doing, pulling the records or whatever, and they weren't cataloged properly. So it was FEP records that were cataloged as generic. So that means if you had a generic tag and you were not supposed to see FEP data, you'd be able to see it in there, right? So there was two hits. One, it shouldn't be in Ewok. Two, that it's not cataloged. And that meant that overseas people, which they said, hey, you can't see over FEP stuff, if they had generic, meaning then they could see it, and that became a huge legal issue, right? We could have been fined millions and millions and millions of dollars over it. So that was
lose the FEP contract, right?
Yeah, you could. Yep. The other thing was dealing with Jocelyn's team before I left, and then having to do with appeals, right? And that was a big deal, right? And then the business didn't like what was going on with Ewok. I still was dealing with that with Frederick Kingley and all them and stuff like that. So it was a big mess. The problem is, which I in my role had the opportunity to talk with people over there and stuff like that, is that they have a lot of cooks, meaning a lot of developers, but not enough analysts that really got with the business and looked at all the considerations. So it's kind of a developer-led effort that didn't sit down and analyze a lot of the things that, it's more of what we can do, of what can we do, not what should we do, right? That type of thing. And so so overall, the feedback has gotten up to upper leadership, and the breaks have been slowed quite a bit on those things. So, but we're talking with others, because I think that's under like Teo's team and a couple other people, so we're talking with them. We talk with them a lot in my role now of data governance. So a lot of stuff is still on the tracks. It's just a lot of things have also slowed because now they're investing more in AI and cloud stuff. So there's a bunch of use cases that are going towards Lana Bender's area, and they're pulling funds from some of those other areas to kind of do that. My understanding, from where I'm sitting, right? So there might be some other factors that I'm not aware about.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yep, no problem.
Because I know a lot of folks on the phone are kind of curious about that as well. We're thinking about Ewok and hearing stuff, but not really to that level. So thanks for that.
If you ever want to, talk about, because like I said, I'm in the wheelhouse where I'm dealing with some of these people, and I don't hear everything, right? But in the area that I am, data strategy, at least my manager Eric is dealing with people as they're any type of new systems or anything like that or whatever, and also dealing with Jennifer, who took over Amy's role, at least temporarily. They do the data protection, so they get involved and stuff like that. So we hear pretty early on the strategy part of what's going on with some of these things, like when they submit those use cases for the next year. For I think they're starting to execute or do things for the use cases from last October, but they're discussing some of the things that's going to be part of the strategy for next year, starting now, if not March. Anyway, so with this right here, one of the things to understand is the business is very, very particular about this being done before 7, right? They really like it around 6 or something like that or whatever, and they're happy right now because this report is finishing around 4 or 5 in the morning. But right around, one of the biggest things you got to make sure is that you got to contact, or somebody's checking, or somebody's being aware of if this job fails first thing in the morning. And that was one of the biggest struggles that I think, because when I left, I don't think I told anybody this, what I was just doing is getting up in the morning around 4 or 5 or something like that or whatever, and just making sure that the job ran fine. And once it got to a certain point, I was okay, right? But when it fails, they want somebody to be on it because Jackie Minard is definitely up around 6 or 7, and hey, it's not here. You got Ed Wise, you got whole bunch of people where their day starts around 5 or right around 6, right? And if this thing is not there, they're calling, they're getting, all kind of different stuff. Plus, there's all kind of alarms and emails that go off. That you get a report that something failed, then the the control M people, the production support is calling you, and depending on what's going on, it depends on how much Jackie and them need to report that particular day. They're going to start calling around, and you're going to get a nasty phone call. At least Patrick will, right? And saying, "Hey, this thing is down. We need somebody to do something." Then you got to call around, all kind of different stuff. So it's good.
Are you still waking up then every week?
No. I stopped. So they ended up hiring. So they brought Troy. What is Troy's last name? You know Troy.
Harvey.
Yeah, Troy Harvey was brought over for a bit, and then after that, Brittany was doing it. I don't know if she was waking up every day, but between her and Jeff, they hired somebody else, but I don't know if they were waking up every morning either for it. Because after there were some things that needed to be fixed, and after that, I don't think it was having as many problems. But Jeff was having to. I think one of the reasons it probably came over is Jeff was the only resource over there really working on it. And when things failed, because the developer, by the time I had moved on and I wasn't able to, or they never asked me to really train the other developer or analyst. And so he was the only one that was doing it. But remember, Jeff is also the lead developer for Claims Connect and a couple other different things. So it could have been overwhelming.
Sorry, was it Paul Greenberg? Is that the guy that was...
yeah. Well, yeah, he didn't work
out. Well, the one thing that Brittany mentioned, though, is that it was running really well. Like, these reports were kind of finishing, the load every morning by the SLA, everything was running well. And then she said that once the CIRT project changes were made, it was running better for a while, but then the past 2 weeks, it's taken longer to complete.
Yeah, so it's one of the things that has to be looked at overall. And eventually the structure changed because there's something in Quest. Remember a long time ago I said, "Hey Patrick, have you guys done anything to Quest that maybe not archive or did something or whatever?" Because sometimes this thing will just take in the Quest tables will take forever to load. Will take like several more hours to finish. And we don't know why. And it was doing that consistently for months at one point. Then all of a sudden, one day, it just stopped, right? And I said, "What happened?" I said, "It's got to be looked into." Like, hey, and I had asked for many times. I guess there was no capacity to do it, but I said, "They're going to have a trace." I said, I recommended, because I was gone by then, recommend to put a trace on the jobs, have JS or somebody like that say, "Hey, have them do a trace on it and see why did this thing slow down on this day and not this day." So we'll do it periodically, right? Not consistently anymore, but I think that's one of the things that you're probably going to need to keep an eye on and say, "Hey, when this thing takes long, we need to find out why it did that. Why did it today not take forever with these tables? Do they need some kind of, refresh or whatever? Are the indexes off at some point? I don't know." So, but that's what she's talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Specific words that she also said was, hold on. Quest job never marks complete or successful. Need to get to the root cause. So she told me that right now the Quest job never marks complete or successful. I don't know what that meant, and that we need to determine.
I don't know. So in order to do that, I think she's probably talking about in Control M. But I don't know. It's got to mark successful
in order for the next thing to kick off,
right?
Yeah. There's the extracting of the Quest, and then it starts to push to SQL Server, and SSIS and all that. But anyway, I can ask her more details on what she meant by that. So.
Yeah, you can ask her, because we know that they mark good because, is everybody on the inventory claims reporting development team email distribution list?
I don't think so. Tell me what the name of it is again.
It's claims. It's so it's claims reporting development team.
Claims reporting development tool. Okay. I'll work with Brittany or whoever the owner is to get them down.
Yeah, and so you need to be part of that, as well as there's inventory reporting core team, and you need to be part of that as well. Patrick, you're part of it already.
Inventory reporting core team. Okay, I got them both.
And yeah, you need to be part of that. So Brittany took Jeff off. Members. So Brittany took Jeff off of it, and she's just the one getting the one for that. So you need to get ownership transferred over to you.
Well.
Oh yeah, that's one thing. You've got to get all your ownership transferred over to you. So that means I can probably start some of these things. We need to sit down and talk through everything now that I'm thinking about it. Approval for requests need to come over to you. You have to be on their distribution to get notified. You probably need to ask Brittany to transfer ownership, because I don't know if you can just do it. Transfer ownership and control of that distribution list for those things. Everything, there's 3 of them, inventory reporting teams, over to you. You need to show that you own the application IDs. Need to show that you own the SQL Server databases. You need to get part of on the SQL Server team. Make sure that they send you the updates, or send you when they're doing upgrades, because people are going to have to be assigned to do testing, and at the minimum make sure that they're available while they're doing the upgrades, because if they break something, you're going to have to let them know right away. And we have had times when they definitely have broken stuff.
Yes. No, I agree. I'll work with Brittany and maybe Jeff. Jeff's going to give some overviews too, but I know all the things you're talking about. I've taken some notes here, and in order for us to start getting the alerts and notifications for things like upgrades, we have to be changed to be the owners, right? Or we'll get added to these distribution lists, which will help a little bit. But you're right. There's an actual owner, right? App owner who owns the app IDs, who owns the SQL Server database, and that's how they'll know the person, not just the distribution list that is responsible for supporting those during upgrades and those kind of things. Okay.
And so, did anybody have any questions? I know we've been talking, but did anybody else have any questions about this reporting, like Malik, what's here on the website?
Yeah. Malik, you said we are pulling data from Vivo Ad Hoc, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Isn't it we used to be Data Guard?
We did. So they made a change before where, and it's in the way that the way that the jobs are working, it can be switched back to Data Guard at any time. That's not a problem. It's just a setting that says, hey, go to ad hoc versus that. They did that because they thought that, because a while back there was another report that was running, which was claims data mart, and that was pulling every claim. It didn't matter if it was in Quest or anything like that, and it took a huge amount of resources. It took a long time to finish. So in order to relieve the effort on data guard, went to VO ad hoc. But it can go by just changing a setting, can go right back to data guard. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So this is kind of, you're gonna have to be familiar with this. We're gonna have to have more discussions once we get into it. The other part that you're really gonna have to get into, Jeff is gonna have to go over it because somebody's gonna have to understand, not Visual Basic. What is the name of it?
Power BI, SSIS.
Yes, all those things. But it's Visual Studio.
Visual Studio.
Download Visual Studio 2009, or whatever the latest one, but 2019. Otherwise, the very first thing that bombs out, you're going to be stuck completing the water, and it's going to be a learning effort. Jeff had to learn, practice and learn and get to know, hey, building all these packages and troubleshooting them and all that other stuff. If you get stuck, there is one person in the company that helped Jeff, which is Paul. He's on a project.
He helped with the Visual Studio. I know that Jeff was having problems with Visual Studio install. Is that what you're talking about? Like getting Visual Studio to work?
The package. Yeah, getting the packages to. He's on Carol's team. I cannot think of his name.
Barry.
I can't think of his name for some reason.
All right, we'll think of it later. But
Paul Fowler. So, it's not a guarantee that you'll be able to utilize him because he might be busy or whatever. But he got dedicated over when Paul Greenberg left. He was the one that came over and got everything situated. He corrected the ship and got all the packages going correctly and stuff like that. So because you do have to do these things in packages, the business, I know for a fact, has already requested upgrades. So they want just like they have this quest history that's here, they want an inquiry history. So I know for a fact that they have requested that. And the last thing that I remember, they were dealing with IT, Brittany's team. They were saying that they did a big show off to all the managers and everything like that, or whatever. And the big thing was they needed a way to have history, and that became a huge ordeal, right? So I know that they want that. What else is there to it?
Okay, I'm trying to remember this piece. Maybe I don't remember this quest history.
Yeah, this was the last thing that we did before. I think this was one of the last things that we did before they kind of started breaking up the team, right? Which was, hey, have a history on an ongoing basis where they can see what was done on particular days.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember this at all.
Yep.
Huh. Okay, I don't even think I've looked at this. You might have to explain what this is.
Okay, so what this is any particular day. So what they do is with their inventory, they want to see what, start doing trends and stuff like that with their day. But some people are taking the counts from certain days, especially the day before, and marrying them up to today. So they'll go here, they'll say, here's what yesterday's ending date was. Let me see what happened the day before. So,
Okay, so it's really just given the same counts, but instead of for a 1 day period, you can extend the date range to be whatever you want.
Right, exactly. So the way that this works is today's quest analysis, all those numbers, the ending date, these numbers, right? They get saved. Just this information. It's not as much as this page right here, but the ending counts for all these things get saved in a table, and then it's cross-referenced through a crosswalk table, not crosswalk table. Anyway, it's with keys. It's saved with pointer keys, right? And then so when you pick a date, it's able to say, okay, this is what the ending date was for all these ones that are within those ranges. So they're able to pick a day or a range of days and see, because they're looking for these spikes and stuff like that.
Okay, so but it's a summary. It's just in a summary table.
It's just in the summary.
History.
Yep.
Gotcha.
This is the summary. Yep. It's just in the summary. That's correct.
Gotcha. Because it would have performance issues if it had to pull these counts like real time for a large period.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Yep. And so they're particular about this, and they want an inquiry version of this right here.
Okay. Brittany told me, that there were 6 or 7 enhancements on the request, or that they had requested, but that there's really no funding. So I'll have to talk to her more about that whole thing. Yeah. But I was kind of getting the impression that we didn't really have the funding to move forward with this. Some of this was really good ideas, but we didn't really have the funding. But I'll talk to her. And
the thing about it is it's nothing has changed since you remember what's going on with this before, toward the end. So 2019 or whenever that big thing when the funding dried up for the entire floor, and this was one of the things that was put on hold, and it's been a battle of wills between the business and IT since then, because the business wants these things. Sometimes they'll even say we'll pay for it, but IT might say, well, we don't have the resources or desire to do these other things, right? Because at one point it was supposed to go to Kibana. Remember that? So Kibana was where it was supposed to go. So they didn't want to fund a lot of the enhancements while there were still people on the team to do that. So now that things have been shopped around, going to Ewok is now out for this stuff, because they literally made us put it in pull Ewok records because they hate Ewok. So that came around. Kibana is off the table. They are now, Kevin Bernard and a couple others have actually come. We sat down, we talked for many times. They are now shifting the business over to CIRT. So everything is coming back to CIRT. Now there's enhanced focus. All those other reporting things are really starting to, and now also it's gotten the attention of many people outside of just the PIO and stuff like that, whatever. Right? So it's growing every day. It's growing, and the scope is growing as far as who. It was really just for the directors under Howard, and now it's getting down to people even on the floor taking phone calls. Sometimes have to check this thing. So, and not just in PIO, and I think workforce management looks at this stuff. Provider looks. Some people in provider I know look at Medicare. People all over the place are looking at it now. So it's got a lot of attention and a lot of eyes on it.
You mentioned Kibana because back before there were some conversations, right? Whether Kibana or CIRT should, that these were things that were discussed back, several years ago. But that there were decisions made, right, to not duplicate or use the Kibana data for these, right, to continue with SQL Server and the Power BI and the way this is, right?
Oh yeah, So what happened is Kibana was using data from this to build their reports, and I think to this day it still does, if I'm not mistaken. I think
I remember. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, I was saying the inquiry, the inquiry is one of the big things that people like, because this was more or less aggregating this to owners is something that no other place in Florida Blue is doing like this. So all these locations, they exist, but they don't have owners associated with it, right? So there's nowhere where you're going to find a triage in inquiry in Siebel or Ewok or ICS where you're going to see this location and be able to say this is who owns it. Now, because of that, there's an extra step which you guys are very familiar with in Quest. I know you know this, is when you get that request and say, hey, got to update the BPAN repair table. So that's what does this association. That BPAN repair table associates this location with this owner.
Yeah.
So that's that's why there's a lot of eyes on. And when it's wrong, you will get it. You will hear it, and people will ask. And then poor Krishna, so we're giving him the things and say, hey, you've got to, this needs to be changed. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. And sometimes some of these locations are the same name, so we've got to be very careful about, making sure we know, hey, is it in Ewok or is it in Siebel or what needs to be updated, ICS, things like that. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
The other part to this is utilization report. This is how we know who is using it. This is going much slower than.
All right, what did you click? Can you go to, is that left tab still? What did you click to get here?
So I clicked here. See the utilization report. So it's on quest analysis, and it's under utilization report.
Got it. Yeah, I remember this a little, but I have not been to this in a long time. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So what's going on? Where this thing is slower than normal? I need to ask them about this. It usually takes several seconds to load. So from here, we can tell who's using it. So this was requested by Jackie because she wanted to make sure all her reports were using this. And so we can tell who uses it the most, all that kind of stuff. So we go here, we can see how people are using it. And so we can see here for the past, was this the 22?
You're one of them.
What?
We see your name also there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I check into it often. Yeah. So.
Hey, Blake, how are you guys? Sorry, how are you capturing every time somebody logs in? Is that in one of the tables that we built in SQL Server? That every time a Power BI URL's hit, or is that? You remember?
So no, it's getting records from. There's logs at This can't be right. We're in 2.5, right? So why is the last date? So there's something going on here because the last date is the 16th. So something happened there. But the logs, there's a logs from the SQL Server admins. They've every time that you touch this page, it creates a login record, and the logs, what it'll do is that the day before, the day after, like today, we're gonna pull the logs that they have made available to us for the previous day.
Got it.
So
is that a batch job or something? Because yeah, you're right. It stopped on 116. Something happened on 116.
Yeah, something happened on 116. So
cool.
So more than likely, what happened, there was an update. So sometimes when they have an update, got to go back and say, hey, this, access to this particular folder, file, or table, or whatever is not there, and then they re-enable it, and then it'll start working again. This has happened before. So. But yeah, it was at one point in time it stopped for a good little while, but it's still back. But you can see, hey, how many people have been using it since whatever time, and then sometimes when people are, there's not much use for it now, but back then when people said, hey, said they were not using it, or they were trying to figure out, was it useful or not, and who's using it, and what are people using it for. Some people, I think Jackie was promoting it, and she was saying, hey, look at how many people are using it. Even some people that say that they're not using it. Like there's some people already on here that have said that they don't use it, and then in a meeting she was like, yep, see, you actually are using a lot. They were pretty stunned that was being tracked. So, but this is not crucial. The business is not going to come out here and look at it. This is more of us taking a look at different things. We've discovered other processes actually coming in and pulling data by looking at this stuff. So we can break it down. It has the login details for different people, the user. So this is how we see it and stuff like that. We see what report, what time they came in, and it's by the click, right? So it records kind of every time you visit every time the page loads, it counts as as an entry. So
it'll increment the count every time they.
Right. Every time it comes in, it loads the page. So not when you filter or anything like that, but when that page first pulls up. So it'll count this, like for instance, counting this. But when I come to this page, this quest analysis, it's going to count as one. I can filter on all these different things. When I go to inquiry analysis, that counts as one. I come back, that's going to count as two for quest analysis, right? So
refreshing the whole.
Yep. If I hit refresh, it's going to count as another. It's going to add one to the count. So that's why for here on the summary, there's distinct. You see this right here. It's distinct users and distinct logins. So I had to say, okay, yeah, person on a certain day could keep clicking around like 55 times, but we need to know, hey, it's really, like for instance here, there's 44 logins, but there's only 12 users that did it that day.
And you got to the detailed data by just right-clicking on one of those blue bars and
yep. Mm-hmm.
View data as table or something. Show as table.
Yeah, I think it's drilled through to like login details.
Cool.
So I see here. So you see here, like for instance, so on this day, he clicked here. 726, 41, 43, 44. So Kevin Walker was in there a lot. Oh, okay. On this day, Misty Wrath. Huh, interesting. So that's who. So got a lot of pushback from Misty Wrath, but I guess she's in here a little bit. But this was
2020.
220. That's 2020. Yeah. So. So remember what I was talking about? So you see Ed Wise was in here 5:17 in the morning.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so and when I was there, I literally was dealing with him. We'd be talking, emailing and stuff like that about 5 or 6 in the morning. If something was going on, something was wrong. But you see here, like, Jocelyn is in there. Jocelyn Esposito, 5 in the morning. Caitlin is in there just before 7, right? Megan just before 7,
And Tanya's in there 6:35. Yep.
Yeah. The people are definitely in here pretty early.
Yeah. So that'll be one of the things, and not that you have to cover that today, and we'll also be asking Brittany, but that was one of our big things was to know the SLA, which I think you kind of told us 7 a.m. and Jackie and some maybe kind of at 6 waiting for it to refresh, and but it's kind of like that whole how do we if Brittany still has somebody logging in early to check, I need to know that. But then it's like, what are the steps? And again, you don't have to go through all that right now.
We have to go through it in detail, and we have to slice it up into chunks, of different things, because it could take walking through Control M is a whole thing. Walking through the packages is another. Walking through the tables is another. Walking through the report is another. So it's almost like 4 or 5 of these different things. So.
Yeah, and I'll need to create some sessions, I think, for each of those things. Maybe I'll work with you to figure out which sessions we want to do when, and then sure. Some of them, like developers, we can have the whole team and some of them, but some of them might be so specific for the developers that we focus on getting them that knowledge. But yeah, so we'll have to work through. I only created this session and one follow-up one, but I knew that there would be more to get this to cover this whole thing. But you and I'll just work together to figure out what session we can do what and however you want to do it.
Yeah, I think the next thing is I think that the order, the next thing you got to get with Brittany and see if she has the emails about what your team needs to request. I'll try and find my emails, but saying, hey, you need to request this access for Control M. The Control M is like bar none the most important request for supporting CIRT right now, because it allows you to see the progress of the jobs.
You mean like on the IT prod support website, seeing there like what time those jobs ran and stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think we need any special access for that. I don't think.
No, you don't. Not any special access, but you have to. So you do, because you need to access the CIR00. Otherwise, you can't see it. It's not like you need specific access. Nobody has wide open access to everything. And I think what you're thinking about is the one on the production support website, not the
It shows what you mean.
Viewpoints. This right here.
Oh yeah, we haven't been in there in a long time, have we?
Yeah.
Have we been in? Do you go in there very often, Swapna?
No, Patrick.
Have you ever seen this? I've seen this before. Maybe we were only doing this for CIRT or something. This was the alternative they gave us when it wasn't working through the IT prod support website. They gave us a kind of workaround to use here for a short time, I think. But anyway, okay, so we need access to this.
Yes. I get your password and stuff, and they'll send you a password and stuff like that.
So this is for SQL Server jobs, Malik?
This is for every job.
Okay.
This is for hold on, let me see something. Trying to see if I have a picture of this thing.
Malik, I know you created an SOP document too that had a lot of really good details in it.
I got it.
I wonder if it has information about like what we need to request here, and I need to go through that SOP document again.
Let's go over that next week. Oh, I'm sorry, the next time or whatever. That one right there. But I'm looking for first. Sure. Can everybody see pretty well?
Yes, I can see.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is what that looks like. So these are all the jobs that runs, and we'll go through that at another time. But there's all these particular jobs, and for instance, it says like CIR inquiry INQ load order. That means the claims inventory reporting inquiry load to Oracle. Inventory reporting interest load to Oracle. Misroute load to Oracle. CR quest assignee load to this particular table, the assignee table. The inquiry LDAP, and Patrick, you remember when we were getting with you guys about that LDAP thing that was going on, right?
Yep.
So the inquiry LDAP process, the quest LDAP process, workflow load to Oracle. So these ones, so what it's saying is, hey, at 5 a.m., it's going to start this inquiry load pulling from the inquiry, all the tables that load inquiry. It's going to start at 5 a.m. And then after that, it's going to look at all the people, all the RACFs assigned to that work, and then start pulling in their information, like their name, their title, all that other stuff, their hierarchy, and then so that starts at 5. Let's see, inquiry, interest, misroute, assignee, quest claims, and quest records, all at 3 o'clock. Kick off and start pulling into Oracle tables. This in the Oracle, this is Oracle, this is Oracle, this is Oracle. Then from there, it's going to, then after that's finished, it says, hey, request assignee, once that's done, it's going to load the LDAP process for quest, and then it's going to start loading the workflow tables at 304. At 304, as long as this quest assignee is finished, right? And so what you'll see is as you're going along, as these guys finish their jobs, they'll turn green. And then once it turns green, these guys will they'll be in a orange or yellow status, called waiting. And then as soon as this turns green, these guys will turn yellow, mean it's running, right? And you can monitor that or whatever, right? And these will all be gray looking like this. This is what it looks like when they're all waiting for the previous one to kick off. And so at the end of this, what we're really looking for is these guys to be green. This is what loads that page that I showed you, the quest report, and this loads the inquiry report. And see how this ends in SQL, quest load, CIR quest load SQL, CIR inquiry load SQL.
SQL Server.
Yep, so SQL, this is what actually goes over to SQL Server. Everything above it is mostly in Oracle. So once these two finish, as soon as this finishes, it fires off an email saying, hey, we have, the job is finished. You can take a look now. As soon as this is finished, it fires off an email saying you can take a look now. So this one, we see they got an email firing off at 5:09 saying it's done, and then this one got fired off at about 6:20 and says done. Normally, quest load at this time, so this was September. But you see now it fires off, usually it's done around 4 and stuff like that.
Okay. Do you happen to know how to request access to that BMC control app that would allow you to see all this information? Do you know?
Yeah, I got it. I got an email. I'll fire off to you. Okay, cool. I fired off an email because you're going to be requesting it for the first time or whatever, so it's not going to be as big of a deal. But I'll get it to you. You can, I'll get it to you. So this is what I was talking about with Control M. So what someone would do is kind of, if anything came up like an email or a phone call, because Control M can have it so that they give you a call on your phone, and the first thing you would do is come and look in here and see which one of these guys is red. That's usually what I do. It's like, hey, which one of these guys read? That tells you where in the process this failed. And then from there, you just start doing some troubleshooting. Well, why did it fail? And you got to do, there's a couple more things I probably have to show you. but you can troubleshoot and say, what is the error that it failed on? Oh, well, for a long time, we failed on this member that had like 40 characters in their name, 44 or something like that or whatever. It was too long for the tables, right? So we had to fix that.
It wasn't Bijou's?
Not who?
Remember, Bijou has a really long last name.
No.
Data Mart
Can you
employee.
pronounce it, Patrick?
LM something.
Yeah, that's very long.
Yeah,
It broke our Data Mart employee table. I remember that. Something.
Yeah, but it was a member name.
Yes. I imagine Bijou's a member too, but yeah, I didn't get it. It's somebody else's name. Yep.
Yeah, and so I think I reached out to you guys. We had to, because I think I just remember closing it. It was, the last name was Avalar de Sousa Valeria Guillem.
Yes, I remember some of those names from the email.
Yep. So.
Okay, so the box will turn red. We know that a lot of these sources are within our control, like the Quest and the workflow data, right? So we could research that. But like when it's a inquiry load, like from ICS, does it still pull the ICS data from EDW?
Yes.
Okay. Which is going away, which is going to be another impact at some point. But
at some point, yep, absolutely. Okay.
But and I know you're a EDW wizard, so you probably were able to research those on your own when?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those type of issues, is that something we probably could do too? I mean,
yeah. So what'll end up happening is once EDW goes, that means probably ICS is gone. So you don't have to worry about anything except for just turning off that part of the process. It's engineered that way so that once ICS goes, EWalk is not on EDW. It's on GuideWell Data Platform. So you don't have to worry about that. That's still staying. So
Right. Yeah, no, it's only the ICS. I get it. But I'm just thinking all the people here on the phone are really familiar with workflow and Quest data. But as far as ICS, and I'm guessing that you use Toad to connect to the EDW. And but you know all those tables, the table structures and the source tables for where it gets the data for this. And I mean, we all know the question workflow of those, but it's going to take a little. I mean, Christian and I maybe fumble through some of the ICS, but that's where it's going to be a little bit more learning curve for us, I think, because that ICS absolutely. Data and the EWalk. So when those go sideways, those are going to be a little bit more.
I know all those tables like the back of my hand, so it's not a problem at all. Matter of fact, going over to, I think for what time? How long do we have this meeting for?
1 more minute.
Okay, I'm not gonna go into it. I'll go into the tables. Let me write down for next time is that I need to show you guys the Oracle tables, and then I need to show you guys the server management stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's where I shouldn't say even more, but it can give a little bit more data about what jobs failed and why. It's not as quick, it's not as intuitive, but it's another piece of the puzzle that'll help you out a lot more. So I'm gonna write that down. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I got one real quick one. Sorry. I got one quick one. There's a box there in the middle. It says CIR Quest Workflow Fill, PHIL. Fill load. PHI load. That's what it is.
Yeah.
See on the bottom. Yeah, right. You were just over. Yep.
Right here?
Yeah, that one right there. I was thinking that was Phil Dove, but it says PHI load. Okay.
Yep.
PHI load. What is that?
So what happens is when we it's coming from workflow and then coming from Quest load and claims and stuff like that or whatever. So once we got all the tracking cases. I'm sorry. Once we have all the quest work, once we have all the workflow. So now what to do is we have to tag it, make sure and say, hey, this is Blue Card, this is FEP, this is all these different things. And while that is already part of the line of business, there's a process that says, well, even though that's on Quest as, let's say, Blue Card, what does the claim now say? Does the claim say that that's state? We're going to go with the claim information. Well, and then on the other side for inquiries, look at the member. Well, what does the member information say? That type of stuff, right? So it can say, so you can have, we can literally have where you can have the line of business is one thing, but the actual entitlement is another. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I'm remembering this now. Yep.
Yeah. So we had to make sure that, and remember back in the day, it was, hey, we need, because I think Quest had done it. That's where we got the idea and say, hey, once you're a state group, are you always state group? Then we might need to always tag it as state group no matter what, right? Or does that go? So a lot of times what we do is for this is saying, hey, Kate, the claim is the most reliable information, and that's what we're legally bound by, how to treat that claim. So if there's claim information on this particular piece of work, that's going to override whatever has come in, so that type of stuff.
And we tag it with that, basically the entitlement that you would need, or, yes, whatever data category, yep, whatever, FEP host. And then SQL Server uses that, right? We did implement row level security in, yep, SQL Server, right? So, yep, that those, same data entitlements that a person has for all those other apps, FEP and host, we use those to basically block people from being able to see through the SQL Server backend, right?
That's correct. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's on the back end, the front end, everything. Yep. So, okay. And I'll go into that because there's like you said, there is a document. Did I send out that link to you guys? On the chat? On the chat?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I found this directory structure here recently too. I remember this is the J drive where we were keeping all this stuff.
Yep, that's still there. Yep.
Yep. And the SOP's out there in this same area too, right?
Yep, that is. Yep. The SOP is definitely out there.
I think what we're saying is anybody on the call, you might want to bookmark that the directory path that Malik put in the chat, because that's the route for where all of the documentation is for this application from when we were building it. So I would say everybody probably should make a shortcut or something to that.
Yeah, I would. This has been invaluable all throughout everything. It's trying to see if I can get the path, send it out. This in particular this is where maybe I'll send it out on email or something like that or whatever. But this one is within that in the design documents. There's SOP 16. That's the one that's gonna really break down the security stuff that's going on. And I can present that to you guys whenever you're ready. The security stuff is already fixed in place. It's not the thing you got to worry about right now. Right, it's really probably getting guys up to the security process is pretty stable. Getting up to speed is probably the first thing is probably the monitoring, and then you got to go from there. Monitoring then what kind of things might be impacted by upgrades, as well as then any break fixes and stuff like that. So
okay, well, definitely, I don't know if people, can stay. I know this meeting was only scheduled till 4:30. And again, we're going to have multiple of these sessions anyway. So what do we want to do? Do we want to kind of draw the line here for today and let Malik just kind of put together kind of what we'll talk about in the next session? I can look, basically, Malik, I don't know what your schedule is. I know
I'm pretty free usually. I'm pretty free usually. Yep.
So are you okay? like every couple days if I put like an hour and a half meeting on?
Dude, you can have it every week, every couple days during the week, however your team wants to do it, however you want to do it. If anybody wants to reach out to me individually, that's fine too. We'll probably have a couple sessions. Patrick, you can just ping me and we can chat and stuff like that. I'm completely open, you know.
On the other thing here, you know, and I know folks on the phone are probably thinking this in the back of their minds, right? We just got this request to take this over last week. You know, this team's already committed to so much other work that we're already kind of beyond capacity and scheduling stuff out in August, September, October timeframe. So, you know, so I would love to have these sessions, you know, for 2 hours every day, but I also know that would take away from their ability to meet the other project deadlines. So, I'll talk to them and we'll kind of space it out a little bit. Hopefully everybody would be okay with the one tomorrow. I think we've got, you know, some idea in mind for what we'll do in that. I mean, we may walk through the SOP or through some of these things we've talked about here today in a little more detail. And we do need to hit those things where, like, if I need to create a request, you know, it's going to take a little while for access. We do need to hit those kind of
the requests are going to be. We know how security is, right? So it's going to be, so that's right. The other thing is you guys need access to almost all these tables. That's going to take about 3 months. And I'm not joking. I am not joking. It took when we had like Paul Greenberg was over here and then Jeff and stuff like that. It took maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe about 2 months. And we tracked it and we were like, hey, we need this, and we started at 3 days and it just took forever, right?
Mainly, what was the main challenge? EDW tables or EWOC or
No. So the EWOC tables weren't too bad because that fits into the streamlined process. What the problem was the data for some of the databases for Oracle, some of the things, and it might be different now, but they didn't have the streamlined process. It was almost like going through the old process of saying, hey, I need XYZ table or whatever, right? And they didn't know what it was. They were like, hey, we granted it to you. And it was like, no, we can't get in. Oh, we don't know what the problem is. So we talked back. One of the best people to talk with is Natalie Abley. We work with her, and then she got some things going. We started talking with some people because they were doing it wrong. So it was a big back and forth. And that's the same thing that we dealt with when we set up CIRT in the first place, having problems. They're like, no, we granted it to you, or we can't grant you this, and stuff like that, or whatever. And it just becomes every time a big hassle. So you're going to have to get, you know, with EWOC, I think I've got it down to a science of what to do. So these requests, I can help you guys with that. Still a little bit of a hassle to request all of them because you got to request 3 for like each environment. You got to request the read. You got to request things to the database. You got to request a PHI. You got to request a blue card. You got to request a FEP. You got to request a general. So it's like, I just named 5, right? So that's for one person, for one database, and I'm still missing some.
So that's cool. Think about some of that because definitely we are going to need some help with some of these access requests. I know how to do the basic, you know, to Power BI, but beyond that, you know, don't know really what else until I read through all your documentation and try to remember.
And that's probably one thing I sent that out, that you rate the SOP. It's been pretty straightforward. There's another SOP, a lot more technical one, because people are going to have to learn because a lot of work that I didn't deal with, which Jeff would have to walk you through about where Jeff and them took the technical documents like the code, the technical walkthroughs for the developers, and he put them in, what is the name of that technology that stores your version changes? GitLab and stuff like that. They put that stuff in there. There's some things I can't remember all. You got to get with him about some of those things.
Will do. Yep, he's going to give us overview. Brittany kind of wanted us to talk to you first, kind of get the overview. You know, all the stuff that you know about it, and then once we've kind of exhausted that, I think she's going to have us set up meetings with Jeff for more technical and the developer support.
Yeah, I would definitely. I see that she's the only one on the reporting team. I would ask her to immediately get you onto that, because there's a lot of discussion that like people will send stuff requests and say, hey, either something's not working and stuff like that. And while she's supporting, do you guys fully have it now, or is there a transition period?
I don't know. I think she wants us to pick it up ASAP, but no, I mean, we have not had these overview, and I kind of refuse to just suddenly become, responsible for it. So,
so one of the things that I would recommend is to say, hey, even if you don't make me owner of this email distribution list, put me on it so that I can see the stuff that's coming in. Like, if the business is saying, hey, something is broken or it's failed or something like that, or whatever, then you can see how Brittany handles it with Jeff and all that other stuff, whatever, and that can help you, because if you're taking something over, you might be taking over a problem, and have not know anything about it, and it'd be good to see those emails, the back and forth of what's going on.
I'll ask Brittany. Maybe we could just add like one of our distribution lists that has everybody on here plus Amanda. So I think we can give the workflow distribution list. She can just add it for now, temporary, and then later I can take over that distribution completely myself. So that's a good point, though. I'll ask Brittany.
Yeah, definitely. That communication is very much key. I was very surprised that her name was the only one. Not even Jeff was on it. And I was like, what?
What's the exact DL that you're talking about? Is it the inventory reporting core team or the claims reporting development team?
Both.
Okay.
You need access to all of them.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
There's
one more for some reason. I'm not.
Yeah, you said 3. There's a user one, right? A user. Isn't there a CIRT user list or something? You guys use like for communications when there's.
There's 2. One.
Who's the email sent in the morning every morning at 7 a.m. when the load completes? Who does that go to?
That goes to inventory reporting core team, but that's not what I expected to be.
Let's see, what's Brittany number? Again, I don't have to go too far on this today. I know people probably.
I'll send it out to you, and you can send it out to your team, whatever, for everybody. But this is one you see, like when Troy was sending out, is claims inventory reporting core team, claims reporting development team. Those are 2, but there's one that's inventory reporting core team, and I don't know, because somebody created a new one, whatever.
Not on inventory reporting core team. She's on. Oh, sorry.
Do it.
Sorry, I don't know. If there's a third one, we'll just have to figure out what it is.
Yeah, so you see those, right? And so I'll send you this one.
You're not sharing your screen, so I don't know what you're looking at.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, hold on a second. You guys see my screen? You guys see my screen now? Okay.
Yes, I can.
So this is the one I was talking about. So inventory claims reporting development team. So this is where all the issues come, right? So this is the one just I'm not even on it anymore, nothing like that, right? So this gets sent out. It's saying that it's coming from here, going to inventory reporting core team. This one has 84 members part of it. Right? So this goes out to everybody every day with, saying, hey, this is saying that this is that the reports are done. So remember I talked about that last one with CIR load SQL, right? In that control M job. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So this sends it out, and it sends a link so that people have, they can just click on it and go to the report or whatever. And it sends out these 2. So when Quest is done, Like today is 2/5. It completed. Quest was done at 4:49. Then at 5:15, inventory reporting was done. Right. So, I'm sorry, inquiry reports were done. So this gets sent out to the same distribution. So here's two distributions right here, right? Reporting development team, inventory reporting core team. But there's another one, claims inventory reporting core team. So I guess there's just a claims on it. This one's similar to that inventory reporting core team, except there's 36 members here. So I don't know what the difference is between these two ones, but so I think that this one is just for, so when you want to communicate with the broader audience, like tell them, hey, something's down, or and these are the ones that'll get in, that they'll share information or whatever. I think this is supposed to be like the equivalent of the claims reporting development team for communication, and the other one is just a notification for everybody when the reports are down. Like, for instance, you don't care about, hey, I need this enhancement, or this is going on, or that type of thing. You just want to know when the reports are done. You have the other one, I think, inventory reporting core team. This one is for communication. So that's
Got it.
Yep. So
Brittany's.
Yeah. So when we get into, we'll go over this tool next time, and then we'll get into these tables and these dedicated CIRT tables next time. I don't even want to start talking about them. They're their own.
That sounds good. Folks on the phone, so I guess a couple of follow-ups. Like, a few of you told me that you didn't have access to CIRT. I did send an email out asking people if they had access to CIRT or not, and a few of you responded. I think maybe everybody, but if you didn't, then let me know. I did cut access requests for the people that told me, I think, and I would have sent you some kind of a request number that I created.
You should check it now, because I approved them all as they came in. And they've been pretty good with the turnaround time with that. So test them, but sometimes they get it wrong. So just got to test it out and make sure. You can see on the ticket if it's completed, if the whole thing is completed or not.
Yes, we still have to go check, because I know I haven't checked it since we submitted them. So, but if you approve them, then if they turn it around, so we'll see that. The other thing is developers. I know we talked about this Visual Studio. That was one of the other requirements, that you have to get that Visual Studio.
2022, right? I submitted ticket, Patrick.
Submitted Shop My IT?
Yes.
Okay. Krishna, you may want to do the same.
Here's the link to the report. And so in order to find out if your report is working, if you have access, you just need to click on that link. I would save it somewhere. In like my links, it's where I keep it and stuff like that, or whatever. Keep a copy of each link so that you can, when you need to go to it, just kind of be able to click on it. Because you see it's in that kind of format. It's kind of long.
Yeah, I did send them. I forwarded basically one of those early morning emails from the refresh. I forwarded it out to all the team members. Said, click this if you can't access the report. Let me know. And that's where I started creating those requests. But I did also, notice that there's a unit, test, stage, and prod.
There is. Right? Yep, absolutely. So you need access to all of those.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do that for everybody as well. So, and the thing is, I don't easily know, Malik, how to check the lower environments. I mean, prod's easy, right? You just hit the URL. I don't know the URLs for dev, unit, test, and all that.
Yeah.
So I may end up creating some of these access requests for people that might already have access to unit, test, and stage, but just disregard those. I'll try not to. But do you know the URLs or?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So maybe.
That's the next thing we could do, is if I had all 4 URLs, prod, unit, stage, test, I could send those and everybody could click the links to see, because some of these people might only have access to it in prod. I might still need to request the access for load.
In the folder, there's a data dump of stuff. In the folder, this is a great wealth of information right here. There is a folder that I just took some time and I dumped everything that I could think about technical in it, right? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so in here, it's called Connections IT Claims, right? So it's in the mapping documents, and I'll forward out to, but I'll probably go over it next week, even though I'm talking about this now. So this is every single thing that's like, here's the tables regarding EDW that we're pulling from. Here's the different schemas. Here's the different roles that are needed. Here's what's needed. Same kind of thing in Sailfish. The schemas, the tables we're pulling from, the roles that you have to request, right? So for each schema, you gotta kind of pull this kind of stuff. For Sailfish, that's you see this P right here, that's production. DLP is production. DLS is stage, test, and then unit, right? So you got to do all those. Here's all the stuff in Oracle that you got to have access to for table-wise right here for where we're pulling from. Of course, this is the CIR table, stuff like that or whatever. You see the stuff that we're pulling from here. SQL Server, here is the accesses that you need for SQL Server. You got to request access to these. And
which is basically, those go through the streamlined process, right? That no PHI, yep. AV groups is what gives you access to those, right?
Yep. Yep. Well, no. It's not going to give you access like what I have to go over through the SSIS stuff later.
Okay.
Let me not breach that right now, right? Because what you're talking about, you will see the report, but I'm talking it's through this tool right here that I'm talking about, so that you can see this kind of stuff.
It's connected directly, like we do Toad to
right.
Oracle.
Yeah. So you see this right here. See, SIS, this SISPS is, so that you can see stuff like this. See what, you can see like reports and executions and stuff like that when you start getting into some of the troubleshooting stuff. So that's what that is for.
Now, sorry, can you go back to that real quick? Is that a Shop My IT install? That
yes,
SQL Server Management Studio. So this is different than the Visual Studio. So Swapna and Krishna, like I didn't even.
Yes, but it's in that document you send out, Patrick. SQL Server Management Studio.
Okay, but you guys need to request that at least.
Yeah.
Actually, even probably most team members, right? That even in the lower environments, even QA might want to look. I mean, this is the data that's stored in SQL Server, right?
So remember how I showed you Visual Studio, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Control M. Remember I showed you the Control M jobs or whatever?
Yes.
This is in those jobs, right? So this is like, remember Quest Load SQL Server or whatever? Is that what I'm in? I can't remember. Quest Load SQL Server, right? Remember that last job that fires off that email or whatever?
Yep.
This is everything that it's running within that package. So it shows you that one box, but it says, but it starts and it shows you, hey, this kicked off and it succeeded. This kicked off and succeeded. This kicked off and succeeded. Showing you everything that it's doing, right? I can't remember if it starts from the bottom, from the top, or the top and the bottom. But I think it starts from the top, where it starts hierarchy, it starts the history load, deleting the certain cases, loading it back into it, right? Creating the indexes, then loading the PHI stuff, loading these other different, so all these different things, because the last one, remember, it does stuff like load into a table for the history, then delete, then load again, that type of stuff, whatever. So one of these guys will be, red if something messed up or whatever, right? So to come back here, I think. So this is where it would say, they got the last ones, but if any one of them, like, if if any one of them failed, this is where we would look. Like see when Quest, what is running. But anyway, so it shows you. Usually, I'll show the end time. I see, but it'll show you when it finished, when stuff is still going. It'll show you any errors that's going on with it. And so whenever there's an issue, I'll come here and I'll say, okay, you'll get a big red one that's on here somewhere when it's had a problem, and you just look at what it's saying, and that'll usually tell you the error that it's having. Hey, this is too long, or it'll throw some kind of error with a number on it, and you just got to troubleshoot what that is. So this is for developers. This 100% is something that you got to have.
Yeah, and I would like it as well. I noticed I have the SQL Server Management Studio version 18.12. Can you check your help about?
Do what?
Check the version that you have here. Help about. So I have 18.12.1. I have this exact same version. So I don't know, Swapna and Krishna, if you guys have it, but I seem to already have it. Maybe from this. I don't know why I have it, but I do. Probably because I got a new laptop and they ported it over from my last laptop. But
really?
Yeah. But anyway, I know we're coming up here on 5 o'clock and definitely want to go longer.
Yeah.
Save
some for next time.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
So, so the last thing if you guys go into this right here, IT Connections, this is, why I started with this is what I was really going on to is got everything that you need. So remember those links that you were talking about? They're here. Test, stage, PHI, all the IDs, all the app IDs, all kind of other stuff. Connection strings to stuff or whatever. All the control M jobs, all the jobs that you saw there, that's all here.
But go back to where the links were, the URLs for, where was that?
Right here. Under Power BI AD groups.
So PHI prod. Okay, so that's test dev stage. Okay, on the Power BI group. Okay, cool. I'll find that. Thanks for that.
It's under mapping documents.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find that and I'll send this out to everybody and make sure everybody checks whether they're access in all these environments to then, so we can generate all the right requests for access and not give requests where people already have access. We just don't know. So yeah. I'll use
Malik,
that.
what version of SSIS we need?
I got to get back to you, Swap.
Okay, yeah.
I got to get back to you because sure. I gotta kind of refresh myself on what version it is, and there's a couple other things on SSIS that I got to get familiar with. I have to admit I struggled with that a bit because I'm not familiar with SSIS, but I will look for those emails and get back to you on what you should request.
Yeah, thank you.
Because this thing is kind of confusing because I'm connected, but I might be connected to the wrong one, but I'll still get the same data. And that threw me for a loop. So I got to look at that.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, right. Malik. We really appreciate your help and support on this. And we'll look forward to the session tomorrow. And whatever you want to put on the agenda, we'll be good with it.
Sounds good. All right, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malik.
Thank you, Malik.
Bye.